15 gram over 100. Now multiply by 90. 5 times 3 times 1,000 equal the number of Oz. If we do that, you get 4.74 osmolar. So both answers are correct. Anyone is confused about this conversion? Anyone is confused about this conversion? Okay, so how about we do it the flip way? So I'm going to get to this question, next question. How about if we say, what is the percent concentration of 400 milliosmolar magnesium chloride solution. So let's say I want to prepare, that actually is more theoretical because usually you don't prepare something with a specific osmolarity. You have a specific concentration and you want to know the osmolarity. But let's, for the sake of practice and understanding the theory, let's do the conversion the other way around. Let's say I have a solution that I know it's 400 milliosmolar, and I want to convert this into gram percent. So let's do that. It's the same equation. The number of milliosm per 1,000 ml equal the number of milligram per 100 ml multiplied by the molecular weight multiplied by the species. We agreed that this is what I want to figure out. This one I know it's 400. This one is 95. This one is 3. So do the calculation and figure out the number of milligrams, please. If you have an answer, just shout it out. 1.3 grams. So it's the first answer in milligram. So the number of milligrams equal 66.7 milligrams. Milligrams per 100. So this is basically the number of milligrams per 100. Sounds good? The percent is gram, not milligram, right? So I have to convert this number into grams. So the 1266.7 milligrams, you divide by 1,000, so it becomes 1.2, I'm going to round, say 7 grams. So again, this is per 100, and this is per 100. I'm just converting the milligram to gram. Okay, so then the percent is, so the concentration equal 1.27%. So what I did is that I used my information on that 400 milliosmolar, meaning 400 milliosm per 1,000 ml. I want to figure out the percent. The equation will give me the number of milligram, and I've assumed that the volume is 100 because I want the percent. The number I'm getting here is milligram percent, not the default. So I want to convert this to a gram and present it as a gram percent. So that's the conversion from milliosm per, or the osmolarity to milligram percent. So let's move to, did you guys switch teams? Oh, nice. I like it. Why do I like it? Huh? I'll tell you later. no discrimination, but it's fair. It's fair. It's fair when everyone gets a chance. Sounds good. What is the osmolarity of 2 molar magnesium chloride solution? So now we were gonna discuss conversion from millimole or mole to osmol. Okay, so let's look at that. What the equation will be. Osmolarity means the number of osm per liter or the number of osm per milliliter. If I have the unit here as molar, I will keep this as osmolar again. So the number of osm per liter equals the number of mole per liter multiplied by species. Right? Okay, so let's look at this. The number of the osmolarity of 2 molar. So the number of osm per liter equal to what does molar mean? Moles per liter. So I'm not going to even do the conversion here. I'm just going to keep it the way it is. Multiplied by species. So that equals 6 osmolar. 6 osmolar. Does this make sense? Okay, let's do the conversion the other way around. If I ask you, if it's a theoretical question, calculate the molarity. Molarity is what? Moles per liter of 200 millios of magnesium chloride in 500 milliliters. I want you to look at the question a little bit, think about it for a couple of minutes, and then we'll do it again. So if you have 200 milliosm of magnesium chloride, these are only in 500 milliliter. Can we calculate the osmolarity or the molarity of the solution? Again, it's exactly comes back to the same equation. The number of, here we have milliosm and molarity. So you have to pay attention that one is in milli and the other is in the osm. So let's say that the number of milliosm per 500 milliliter equal the number of millimoles in 1 liter, which is 1,000 milliliter multiplied by the species. So the number of, here I have 200 milliosm in 500 milliliter. That equals the number of millimoles. This is what I want to figure out. In 1,000 milliliter multiplied by 3. Do I need molecular weight here? No. When you're converting from milliosm to millimole or the other way around, you do not need the molecular weight. The molecular weight is already calculated for you. Once you know the number of moles that you mean, you've already divided by the molecular weight. Again, when you're doing the conversion from the osm to mole, you don't need the molecular weight. Okay? Anyone has a question here before I proceed? Yes.
So let's say you're asking us to calculate the moles off of millimoles. Will you compare anything like liters? So instead of milliliters, we'll have it as liters?
No, the liters are not going to change. What's going to change is that this, once you have milli here, what you will get here is milli. So you either convert the milliosms from the beginning to osm and substitute here in 0.2, or you wait till the end, because I asked you for the molarity, you wait until the end and you do the conversion. So the number of millimoles per liter equal how much? 133? Okay, so the number of millimoles equal 133, and the unit is millimoles here per liter. Okay, so that is, you can just say the molarity equals 133 millimolar, or you divide this by 1,000 and it becomes 0.133 molar. The capital letter M means more mole per liter. The capital letter M, you owe her. The capital letter M means mole per liter. So you can either leave it as millimolar, or you can divide it by 1,000, it becomes molar. Both are fine. If it's an open-ended question and I don't specify to you the units, whatever you put, if you use the right number with the right unit, that's fine. Sounds good? Or if it's a multiple choice, you have to do the conversion. Sounds good? Let's move on. So the third kind of question that you can get is, what's the osmolarity of 2 MEQs per 10 milliliter of magnesium chloride solution? And that's very practical concentration very practical solution question, because most of the time, let's say you're preparing a TPN, total purine penetration, and you add magnesium chloride to it. After you calculate how much you need from each solution, toward the end you want to know if your solution is hypertonic, hypotonic, or isotonic. So it's very frequent that you will find that you're doing this conversion. So this is very practical conversion. Okay, let's do that. What is the osmolarity of 2 MEQs per 10 milliliters of magnesium chloride? Do I need the molecular weight in this? No, because I'm not going to go all the way to the milligrams per milliliter. I'm just going to calculate the molarity. So let's look at this. So the osmolarity is, what I need to calculate is the number of milliosm per 1,000 milliliter. That equals the number of millimoles divided by whatever volume I have, multiplied by the valence. Multiplied by the species. Do I know the species? Yes. Do I know the volume? Yes. Do I know the number of millimoles? No. So this is the one that I need to figure out from the MEQs. Okay, so I'm going to reuse the MEQ equation. The number of MEQs per 10 milliliter equal the number of millimoles per, again, 10 milliliter multiplied by the valence. Do I need the molecular weight? No. Not interested in extra steps. I'm just going to use the number of MEQs to figure out the number of millimoles. And then I'm going to use this number of millimoles in the milliosmoles equation. I'm going to pay attention to the difference in the volume. Okay, so I'm converting from MEQs per 10 milliliter to millimoles per 10 milliliter. How many MEQs I have? 2. What's the valence? 2. So this cancel this and this cancel this, life is good. So how many millimoles you have? 1. From this I can say that I have 1 millimole in 10 milliliters. Sounds good? I'm gonna take this piece of information and substitute in the above equation. Okay, so the number of milliosm per 1,000 milliliter equal, I have 1 millimole in 10 milliliter multiplied by the species, which is 3. Let's cancel this. The answer is 300 milliosmolar. Where did I get this from? Just multiply the 3 times 300 and calculate it. It's 300, but because it's also in 1,000, then it's a 300 milliosmolar. Is this hypotonic, isotonic, or hypotonic? This is isotonic. This is isotonic. Sounds good? Let's do one more problem. Let's do one more. Anyone wants me to do anything similar to any of these three before I move on?
It's a question.
Yes.
For our quiz next week, is it more like this or more like the homework?
More like the homework.
More like the homework. Thank you.
I'm just reviewing osmolarity because many students asked for that.
Got it.
But if you guys done with osmolarity, I can review TPN if you want.
Yes. Yes.
TPN?
Yes.
TPN. Osmolarity? Who wants osmolarity? Because I'm here for osmolarity first. Okay. TPN. Do you have questions before I start? Let me start. Yes? Uh-huh. It's the one that asks you what do you pick?
Yes.
Okay, so let's say I have a patient and the patient weight, let's say WS is a patient and he is 70 kilograms. He has congestive heart failure. So he's hospitalized for congestive heart failure. He is 170 centimeters. And he is 50 years old. Sounds good? Congestive heart failure patients are in limited nutrition. What does limited nutrition mean? When you hear limited, what you should be thinking? What you think is that you don't want to overload the body, yet you don't want to deprive the body from nutrients. So congestive heart failure patients are most of the time to the lower level of nutrition. What does lower level mean? Mean if there's a range of 1 gram to 2.5 grams per kilogram protein, I would give this patient 1 gram. It's not that I'm going to give him 0.5. No, I'll go to the lower range. There is a number. You can also go up to 0.8, but 0.8 is mostly for healthy patients. So it depends. So who is usually on protein? So congestive heart patients are on limited nutrients of everything. Who's on limited protein? Specifically limited protein? Renal failure and kidney failure. Excellent. Who is on limited fluid? Congestive heart patients, high blood pressure, kidney dysfunction, and liver dysfunction. Why kidney? Because basically the kidney is not functioning. If you give more fluid, you're hurting the patient. Again, so there are some patients who are on limited fluid. This doesn't mean we're not going to give them fluid, but we give them to the lower range. Congestive heart failure patients, high blood pressure patients, liver dysfunction and kidney dysfunction. Any patient also with edema, right? You're not going to load this patient with water. So that's one. So we talked about protein restriction. We talked about fluid restriction. There's also the diabetic patients. If you have a diabetic patient, what would you think that you need to pay attention to? The carbohydrates. So that patient, you want to give them higher level of lipids. So this patient, you want to give them more of their nutrients through lipids. Sounds good? Yes.
Can you repeat again?
Your patient is diabetic. You're worried about the hyperglycemia. So when you're infusing the patient, and by the way, write this down, any patient who's in TPN, the glucose level is always being monitored. Even if the patient is not diabetic, you're always worried about hyperglycemia. You're always worried about hyperglycemia. And you're going to revisit this in your P3. You talk about all the complications from the TPN. Also, the patients with pulmonary dysfunction. A patient with pulmonary dysfunction, what does the lung does? The lung gets rid of the carbon dioxide, right? If you're giving the patient more dextrose, you're creating more carbon dioxide. So you're creating more load on the lung. So the patient with pulmonary dysfunction is usually also, we try to give them more calories through lipids. So more calories through lipids would be patients with pulmonary dysfunction and patients, the diabetic patients. Again, this is practical thing, clinical thing that you get to know. This is, I'm going to ask you about this in details, but what do we need to know in terms of our calculations? So let's say we have a patient and he's a congestive heart failure patient, and let's say we're going to limit the fluid to rather than 35 milliliter per kilogram to, let's say, 30 milliliter per kilogram. Let's say that. Now, when I want to pick the solutions that I'm going to prepare the TPN from, unless you pick the very concentrated solutions, by the time you take the milliliters of carbohydrates and the milliliters from lipid and the milliliters from the protein, your total will be higher than what the patient needs. You're not going to need even sterile water for injection. Again, when I tell you the patient is on fluid restriction, that means you try to pick the most concentrated solution of whatever you have. Otherwise, by the time you calculate the milliliters of protein and carbohydrates and lipid, your total will be higher than the daily need. Okay, what else? Okay, so let's say the patient needs 70 grams, let's say the patient needs 70 kilograms, let's say the amino acids equal, I'm going to give him 1 gram per kilogram multiplied by 70 kilograms. So I'm going to give my patient 70 grams of protein. If I have 2 solutions, I have 20% amino acids, and let's say I have 10% amino acids. If I use the 20%, I will use the number of milliliters will equal 70 grams multiplied by 100 milliliter over 20 grams. That equals 350 milliliters. If I use the 10%, the number of milliliters equals 70 grams times 100 over 10. So that will be 700 milliliters. Both these resulted in the same number of grams of protein, right? But this one will load the patient with higher volume. And if my patient, at the end, I'm going to restrict the amount of liquid, I want to stick to the most concentrated solutions I have, so I don't have to go back and make more calculations. So basically what the rule is, when the patient is on fluid restrictions, you want to pick the most concentrated nutrient solution you have. Why? For you to be able to provide the nutrient in the least volume. Did I answer your question?
Yes, so I was talking about the other one that was the fermentation and consumption at the same time. Because I know for the patient is usually a real, but for the burn, because the patient burns, you want high protein, you want to make more tissue.
Yeah.
So it wasn't 10%, was it 15%? Did you want something in between?
But let me tell you something. The concentration of the protein is not going to change the amount of protein. The concentration of protein is not going to change the amount of protein. It only changes the amount of the concentration of your fluid is not going to change the number of grams of dextrose or calories from lipid or grams from protein. It's going to only change the number of milliliters because this is 700 milliliters of 10%. This is 350 milliliters of 20%. So the number of grams is the same. The number of grams is the same. No, any other questions? Should we do this problem? Do it? Okay. Okay, so let's say the first point is that I'm going to calculate the patient's basic energy expenditure. So what's the equation? I don't memorize the equation. Is it 65? Anyone has the equation? I think it's 65, maybe 64. Plus a number times the weight. 60 how much? 66. So we're using the male equation. What's the weight? How much multiplied by the weight? How much? 13? 13.7 times the weight multiplied by how much times the height? 5 times height? Okay. Times minus how much times age? 6.8 times the age. Okay, let's do that. So 66 plus 13.7 times the patient's weight is 70 plus the height times the patient's times 5, which is 170, minus 6.8 times the patient is 15. That gives us how many kilocalories? $13, 17, 15.75 kilocalorie per day. Does this sound like a good number? Yeah. So if the stress factor is 1.4 and the activity factor is 1.3, how much would the total energy be? So 1575 times 1.3 times 1.4. That gives us 67 kilocalorie per day. Sounds like a good number, yeah, about like almost 3,000 kilocalories per day. Sounds good, let's move on. Okay, first step is amino acids. And under amino acids there are 3 steps, always remember. First step is amino acid, under amino acids there are 3 steps. Amino acids is the number of grams per kilograms of the patient's weight. Okay, so let's say the patient will take 1 gram per kilogram. The patient is 70 kilograms, so the patient needs 70 grams of amino acids. That's the first step. The second step is figuring out how many kilocalories from amino acids. So 70 grams multiplied by, each 1 gram give us 4 kilocalories. So that will be 280 kilocalories per day. This is per day. Sounds good? What's the third step? Figuring out the number of milliliters. Let's say we have the solution we have is 20%. I will give you these numbers. I have to give you these numbers because you cannot guess what solution you have in the pharmacy. Okay, so now we will say I need 70 grams multiplied by 100 milliliter over 20 grams. So that means we just calculated that is 350 milliliters. So again, under amino acids you have 3 points. The number of grams, the number of milliliters, the number of kilocalories. Now what do we do? These are the kilocalories from protein source. So the kilocalories from non-protein equal. What's the total? 2867 minus 280. That equal where? Minus 280. 2,587 kilocalorie per day. What's the next step? Let's say the patient is receiving 3-in-1. 3-in-1 means what? Protein, lipid, and carbohydrate. Okay. Comes after, if we have 3-in-1, comes after the protein, we have to figure out the lipid. Sounds good. So lipid. Now, we agreed that our default is 35% of the non-protein. Okay, so 35 over 100 multiplied by 2587 kilocalorie. That gives us times 0.35, enter, 905 kilocalorie per day. Is everyone still following? First step, amino acids. After, of course, the kilocalories. Then we figure out if I have 3-in-1, the next step will be the lipid. How do we calculate the lipid? By default, unless I tell you otherwise, 35% of the kilocalories from non-protein. Where do I get the non-protein? I subtracted the kilocalories of protein from the total, which gave me 2,587. I multiplied this by 35%. This is the kilocalories from lipid. Okay, let's say I have 30% emulsion. 30% emulsion provides you with what? 3 kilocalories per milliliter. The 30% emulsion provides you with 3 kilocalories per milliliter. The 20% emulsion provides you with 2 kilocalories per milliliter. The 10% emulsion is unique, provides you with 1.1 kilocalorie per milliliter. Sounds good? Okay. So now, how many milliliters of the 30% emulsion do I need? That would be 905 kilocalorie times 1 milliliter gives me 3 kilocalories. So you're going to just divide by 3. Divide by 3. How much you got? 302 milliliters. 302 milliliters of what? Of the 20%, bless you, lipid or emulsion. So of the 30%, 302 of the 30% emulsion. Yes. What's wrong? Oh, yeah.
When would we use the 9 kilocalories?
This is just for your. When would you use that? And a matter of fact, in the old days, I used to teach the students how to do it with both ways. If you calculate the 9 kilocalories per gram, then in this case we do assume that the 30% is 30% weight per volume, while it's already it's volume per volume. So in this case you can use it, convert the kilocalories to gram, and from grams you go to milliliters, you get relatively similar numbers. So you get a number that's close to 302. So in the old days I would teach the students both ways, but most hospitals use this formula, so I stick to it. But you can use it if you want. You will get a similar number to this. Good question. Okay, so what is left now? We're left with dextrose. So the number of kilocalories of dextrose equal the 2587 minus 905, which equals 2587 minus 905. So 1682 kilocalorie per day from dextrose. Okay, so let's calculate the number. Let's assume we have 70% dextrose. So the number of milliliters of 70% dextrose equal 1682 kilocalorie, right? Multiply by each 1 gram, give me 3.4 kilocalories. Multiplied by the 70%. Each 100 milliliter will give me 70 grams. So with that, how many milliliters do I need? Times 100 divided by 4.8 divided by 70. 7. Oh, 7. Are we good? Everyone got that? Just in one step. Dimensional analysis. We need 1682. Where is this number coming from? It's the remaining. It's the remaining kilocalories, remaining non-protein. So the total non-protein minus the lipid, excellent. So you multiply this by 1 gram over 3.4, and you multiply by the concentration I give you, get 707 milliliters. Good. Okay. Can we calculate osmolarity? Oh my God. Let's do it. Let's get used to doing it, okay? How do we calculate osmolarity? Does anyone remember? Well, first of all, let's calculate the fluid. So we assume from the beginning the patient will only get 30 milliliters per kilogram. So the total milliliters equal 30 milliliters per kilogram times the patient is 70 or 80? 70 kilogram. So the patient would need 2100, which sounds like a good number, about 2 liters. Sounds good? So how much sterile water for injection? Please minimize side talk, please. Sterile water for injection equal the 2100 milliliters minus the 350 milliliters from amino acids minus the 302 milliliters of emulsion minus the 707 milliliters of the 70% dextrose. 2100 minus 707 minus 302 minus 350 equals 7. for 1 milliliter. This is what I'm gonna QS with. Sounds good? Sounds good? So let's now calculate osmolarity. If you remember what we said, that each 1 gram of dextrose per 1 liter provide with 5 milliosm per 1 liter. Right? How many grams do we have per liter? How many grams do we have per liter? We do have, how many grams of dextrose we have? Then we have to do the, sorry, I'm just gonna come here. Because we didn't figure out the number of grams, we did it in one step and we multiply by 100 over 70. So if I want to figure out the number of grams, it will be 1682 kilocalories times 1 gram over 3.4 kilocalories. So that will give us 1682 divided by 3.4. The answer is 495 grams, right? So when we did the calculation, we did it in one step to figure out the milliliters. I need the number of grams. So I went back and I did the calculation again to figure out the number of grams. Okay. So these 495 grams are in total of 20 or 2.1 liters, right? How many grams do I have in 1 liter? It doesn't work. So 495 divided by 2.1. So we have 236 grams per 1 liter. Okay, now I can calculate the osmolarity. If each 1 gram provide with 5 milliosm, how can I calculate the number of milliosm? So the number of milliosm equal 236 grams multiplied by 5. Each 1 gram provide me with, each 1 gram per liter provides me with 5 milliosm per liter. So I have 236 grams in 1 liter. How many milliosm per liter? I'm just going to multiply by 5, and that gives you the number of milliosms per liter. So this is time. How much? 1180? 80. 1180 milliosmolar from dextrose by itself. From dextrose by itself. Okay. Let's do the same for the protein. The 1 gram amino acid per 1 liter provides me with 10 milliosm per 1 liter. How many grams do I have? Grams of protein? We have 70, right? So 70 grams in 2.1 liter equal, so 70 divided by 2 is 33.3 grams in 1 liter. Again, I need to normalize my grams to 1 liter so I can calculate the osmolarity. If 1 gram per liter provide you with 10 milliosmolar per liter, the 33.3 grams per liter will give you 333 milliosmolar. Why? I multiply by 10. So once you calculate the grams per liter of amino acid, just multiply by 10. Once you calculate the grams per liter of dextrose, just multiply by 5. Again, once you calculate the grams per liter of dextrose, just multiply by 5. And the grams of protein, just multiply by 10. So the total osmolarity is 333 plus 1180, that's 3, 5, 1, if I got it right, osmolar. Got hypoiso? Hyper. This is hyper. Does this go peripheral or central? This goes central. Why does it go central? Because it's more than 900 milliosmolar. Okay? I'll see you coming Tuesday. Once you calculate the grams of dextrose per liter, multiply by 5 gives you the osmolarity. Once you calculate the number of grams of amino acids per liter, multiply by the 10 gives you osmolarity. It's an approximation.
I know.